While the school year has already ended for some students, others are preparing to spend more time at home for summer break. Meanwhile, a new study is now revealing a troubling decline in mental health of young mothers. And researchers at Columbia University and the University of Michigan found the percentage of mothers who are reporting excellent mental health dropped sharply from 2016 to 2023. So I want to bring in now Dr. Charryse Johnson, who is a mental health counselor. And Dr. Johnson, it's so great that you're on with us because this is such a really important topic, especially for younger moms. And when I talk about younger moms, you're talking about women who are in their 20s and had kids early in their 30s. You know, I am a mom and I have younger kids who are 7 and 8, but I'm not a younger mom. And there's, I think, different stresses. Give us your insight.
Yes. So we see this constantly, whether it is through research or one-on-one practice or in organizations, that moms are overwhelmed, they're stressed out, and thankfully they're starting to speak up. There's a lot of demand for their time, for resources that they may or may not have. And then because families also don't live as close as they used to,
Right.
you also have a lot of young moms who are in a need for support and don't have it nearby.
Well, one of the things that I feel like, too, now having younger kids, I never realized how many activities kids were involved in. I mean, back in the day when I was younger, my mom would just say, hey, go outside, Alicia, and play outside, right? Now it's like you have baseball and gymnastics and dance, and you have moms that might have a 3-year-old and then a 7-year-old and then a 15-year-old, and they're juggling all around trying to get this person to soccer, this person to gymnastics. It's a lot on your mental health. So what would you say of how you can kind of compartmentalize all that?
Yeah. So one thing I'll say, I want to hit the fact that you might have kids at different ages and they all have different needs. And there's this part of you as a mother that's concerned that you're giving one child more than you're giving the other.
Right.
There really is no way to have fair access to everything. So really prioritize what child needs what and asking yourself, am I doing these things because this is what my children have said they wanted to do? Or am I doing these things because I feel like I should? Do I feel like I'm comparing myself to someone else? And then really consider, as a family, what do we value? What do we want our kids to remember when they think back on life? Because they really aren't going to remember every activity, but they are going to remember those quality moments that they had with you at home.
You mentioned a big piece there, comparing yourself to other moms, comparing yourself, how am I doing? When you look at the mom groups that are out there, a lot of times you have mom groups for kids. And there's positives and negatives of joining these groups, because for some people, it might be an outlet for them to get out the house if they're a non-working mom or a stay-at-home mom. But for some people who work every day and then on top of more responsibilities, give us your insight of what people can kind of take as maybe it's a good time to sign up, maybe it's not, maybe it's good for the kids, that kind of thing.
One thing that I would suggest is for moms to consider, what do I need based on this season of life? Because you mentioned sometimes you're going to be in a season where it is extremely helpful for you to feel like I need something outside of this house. I need something that is not my children. So I want to be involved. I want to have purpose. But then you may hit a season where that purpose is pulling you away from making the family priority. So give yourself permission to make a shift and know this is my season to be involved. A lot of times when your kids are relatively small, it's more challenging because they need you more. As they mature to some degree, you may have a little bit of flexibility, but I find that moms have a hard time because they have a static way that they believe they're supposed to show up instead of saying, this was a great season, I was super involved, but now my kids need me in a different way, so I need to shift the level of time and responsibility that I take on.
One of the big, I guess, wow moments for me was realizing how much all these activities cost. You know, the financial piece of this, and you talk about somebody who's in their 20s and 30s having, multiple kids in all these groups, there is a financial burden, and you have to be able to say, hey, it's not just how much the class costs, but like with dance, you have a fitting fee and a clothing fee and outfit fee. And so these things tack on and you get your bills. I think that's added stress that moms feel.
Very much so. And a lot of the activities that kids are involved in cost 2 and 3 times more than they did back in 2016. And we're continuing to see that rise. We're also seeing a lot of economic stress because one of the things that this study mentioned was that moms that have young moms across all socioeconomics were feeling this. So this isn't just a problem of one demographic. One thing that I would encourage is to create a realistic budget that you can use for the needs of your family. And you may change the amount based on the kid, based on what's happening in your family, but then stick to that budget. Or let me give this one last quick tip. If you have family members that want to give you gifts or give your children gifts for birthdays or your anniversary or Mother's Day, consider saying, I would love for you to give to their activity fund, because they'll actually remember that more than they will something that you just purchased that they don't remember.
Absolutely. That's great
Yeah.
advice. And then also, too, anything more about this study that really kind of got your attention that you feel like is important to highlight?
Yeah. One of the things that we're seeing in this study that is important to highlight is the need for connection and community. So moms are also feeling isolated because the level of connection through online or social media is not the same as I have this really great friend.
Right.
One of the things that we're seeing is it's important for you to know moms that live nearby, have them in your home, do life with them. That's a big part of what everyone is feeling.
So, such good advice. The other thing, too, to point out is, remember I said that back in the day, we'd go outside and we'd play. But now it's like when you take your kids to the park because you want them to feel safe in an environment that you can be able to see them, but you're now packing up the wipes and packing up the drinks and packing up the snacks. And it's a whole thing to be able to go to a park just for them to get some exercise. What kind of suggestions do you have to kind of combat that?
Yeah, one primary suggestion that I would have is bring people into your home, because your home is going to be one of the safest places there. If you have friends and other families that you connect with, or your kids have friends that you want to get to know better, go to each other's home, switch around where you are. That eliminates a lot of the travel. You can pull funds together for the meals, or everybody brings something, and it really takes a lot of the pressure off of everything.
I think that is a great idea. I know that was one of the things that you mentioned. We were on the noon show today, and I was just like, oh my goodness, what just a good idea there to be able to do. But also when you look at just the stress and the mental health, I think now it also is kind of, I don't know, uplifting for moms to admit that it's not easy being a mom.
Yeah. And it's great that we're at the place that moms are willing to do this. I believe if we look historically, we come from an era that believed in order to be a good mom, you could never show that you weren't okay.
Yes.
Or there's an inner dialogue that says, I'm supposed to be better. I'm supposed to be able to do this. That's not true. So for any mom that's watching this, you are human. You're going to have rough days, but how you talk to yourself is going to be a big aspect. So don't underestimate compassionate self-talk. And I'm also a huge proponent of end your day with a win. Before you go to bed at night, take a moment and go, I feel really great that I did X today. I stayed calm while my child did not, or I had a tough situation and I faced it and didn't avoid it, and really work on your own mental health and being mindful. You really are doing the best you can.
Lastly, I want to talk about just community, because as you said, community is very important for the kids. But sometimes community can then also have feelings of jealousy and animosity as moms get together and compare themselves. So how do you figure out the safe places to be able to go, like in your neighborhood, and you start having other moms that have kids that are your same age? What's too close, or what would you advise in terms of forming relationships?
I think one of the first things that you want to do is consider, what kind of mom friends do I lead in my life right now?
Okay.
I had a family member who gave me some great advice. You mentioned you always want somebody who is where you are, similar to where you are in your stage of life. You want someone younger than you that you're able to pour back into, like, oh, I've been there. I promise this aspect gets better, and have someone that is older than you who can also pour into you. And then be very honest when you are with a mom group and you feel like, I don't really feel like I fit. I don't really feel like I belong. They enjoy doing things that aren't for me. Give yourself permission to find what you need, and don't feel like you just have to accept anything.
And I learned this too, all because the girls are friends doesn't mean the moms have to be tight.
Yes.
You can still be in the same space, right? And enjoy, but you're really there for the kids. So you don't really have to make sure that this is your bestie.
Correct. And that's a lot of pressure that is placed on moms. I have to be everything for everyone.
Yes.
And that's not possible.
It is hard being a mom. I'm going to say that. But I love it. It is the best job in the world. I wouldn't give it up for anything, but there is a lot in terms of keeping your mental health together, making sure that your family's together. And just as you've said before, hey, when mom is happy, everybody's happy?
Yes, that is very true.
Dr. Charryse Johnson, anything else that I didn't ask you that you feel is good for people to be able to understand or know, just in terms of keeping their mental health?
Sure. I always think it's important to know the point where you may actually need professional help. There are times as a mom that we are doing everything we can to try to support ourselves, and we just get to the point that we know what I'm doing for myself doesn't feel like enough. So reach out, get support, let someone know if you really are struggling. Don't operate in secrecy or silence.
Don't operate in secrecy or silence. We can end there. Dr. Charryse Johnson, thank you so much for being on with us on Queen City News Plus. I'm Alicia Barnes. Hopefully you've enjoyed this segment.